Hi everyone. Today I am going to tell you a scary story based on reality. So turn off the lights in your room and listen carefully. Story 1. Voices in the Silence. Silas was born deaf. Silence was his oldest companion, and over time his sharp eyes and careful awareness of movement had compensated for a world that never spoke to him. People pitied him, but he found comfort in the stillness. He didn't know what he was missing, and he liked it that way. When his parents died in a car crash, Silas inherited an old family home in the countryside, miles away from the city, from noise, from anything, really. The house had belonged to his great-uncle, a man no one had seen in decades. Silas only vaguely remembered the place from childhood visits. It was cold, shadowed, always damp with some creeping sense of sorrow that soaked into the walls like mildew. He didn't mind the isolation. In fact, he welcomed it. After years of apartment living and constant visual overstimulation, the worn old house promised stillness. He moved in late October, just as the air grew sharp and the trees turned brittle and black. The house was in disrepair, creaking floors, drafty halls, wallpaper peeling like shedding skin. But it stood. Silas unpacked slowly, using the house's decay as a kind of rhythm. He took pictures of the broken furniture, the attic that sagged with damp wood, the ancient dollhouse left in one of the upstairs bedrooms. It felt like walking through a memory, not his own. The first night he lay awake staring at the cracked ceiling above the bed, comforted by the silence. Then he heard it, a whisper. Not a feeling, not a suggestion, not a dream. A whisper, faint, just outside his left ear. Silas. He sat up in bed, heart thundering. His hands went to his ears instinctively. Nothing. Just silence. He shook it off. Maybe the wind. Maybe something shifted in the walls. Old houses groan. But the next night, it returned. "We see you." The voice was not inside his head. It didn't feel like a memory or hallucination. It was sound, a whisper that tickled his ear in a way he'd never felt before. He stood in the middle of the bedroom, turning, trying to pinpoint its source. But it faded as quickly as it came, and then it returned, night after night. Whispers, always just out of reach, not constant, sporadic, cruel. They came when he least expected them. In the bathroom, behind him in the hallway, even once right inside the mirror, though the lips didn't move. Silas stopped sleeping. He began to wonder, was it even possible? Could someone born deaf develop hearing? He went to a specialist who ran every test imaginable. The results were clear. His auditory nerves were dead. He should not be able to hear anything. The doctor looked concerned. "It's not possible, Silas," he signed. "If you're hearing things, they aren't coming through your ears." He left the hospital with a pit in his stomach. At home, the whispers intensified. They stopped saying his name and began saying other things. "Why did you come here?" "It remembers the blood. He fed us once, feed us again." He started seeing shadows, movement in the corners of rooms that vanished when he turned. Sometimes they appeared in mirrors, though not behind him, inside the reflection like someone trapped behind the glass. He recorded the rooms while he slept, watched the videos during the day. Nothing until the fourth night. On the footage from 3:14 to 3:23 a.m., the camera's screen fuzzed into static. And in that static, faces flickered, twisted, screaming, mouths wide open. He played it again and again. They were there. He wasn't crazy. He tried to move out, but every time he packed a box, the voices screamed. Not whispers anymore. Screams that echoed inside his skull like someone jamming knives into his brain. He bled from the nose, passed out, woke up on the floor with boxes unpacked, things where they'd been before. He found scratches on the inside of his closet door, words etched into wood, old and deep, He hears us now. He tried burning sage, praying, pleading, but nothing helped. The house grew darker. One morning, he noticed something strange in the floorboards of the attic, a dark stain hidden beneath a dusty old rug. He pulled it back. The wood was black, warped. Beneath it, a trap door. He pried it open. Stairs led downward, though the house had no basement on the blueprint. It wasn't a basement, it was a room. Stone walls, candles melted into long dead stubs, dried red patterns stained into the stone in crude, ritualistic spirals. And in the center, a wooden chair with dried leather straps. He couldn't breathe. In the corner sat an old tape recorder, broken and dusty. But when he touched it, he heard it. A voice, screaming, crying, begging. Please, please, not again. He dropped the recorder and ran. That night, the whispers returned in full. He heard our pain. He must listen now. Silas, Silas, Silas. He locked himself in the bedroom, pushed furniture against the door, curled into a ball in the corner. But the sound didn't come through the door. It came through the walls, through the silence. He felt hands on him in the dark, ice-cold fingers brushing his neck, breath on his cheek. Then the bed shook, the mirror shattered, the lights burst, and the voices began to scream in unison. Hundreds, maybe thousands. His head throbbed. He screamed back, but no sound left his throat. He passed out. When he woke, he was in the chair in the basement, strapped in. A mirror was propped in front of him. In it, he saw not his reflection, but the room filled with faces. Broken, decayed, eyeless, all staring at him. Behind them, his great-uncle stood, smiling. "You opened the door," he said. "Now you hear what I heard." And then he was gone. Silas screamed, but not in his head. He screamed aloud. The deaf man could hear. The only thing he could hear was the dead. When the police found the house weeks later, tipped off by a power company cutting service, they found no Silas, only the mirror, cracked and leaning in the basement. And if you listen close, you can hear whispers behind the glass. But only if you've known silence all your life. Only if the house chooses you. I hope you liked the previous story. Now the next one is even more scary and full of fear. Before we start, please subscribe the channel, like this video, and comment me about your experience. Story 2. She never sleeps. Mara was 6 the first time she met her imaginary friend. Her name was Elira. It started the day she moved into the new house with her mother. A faded blue 2-story home at the edge of a dying town, the kind of place that looked haunted even in daylight. Mara's mom said it was a fresh start. But even Mara, young as she was, could feel something old and tired living in the walls. The attic was locked. Her mother said it was dangerous. "Just dusty boxes and old junk," she claimed. "Nothing for a little girl." That night, Mara sat on her bed, knees drawn up, fingers tugging nervously at her blanket. The moonlight made strange shapes on her wall, but she wasn't afraid. Not yet. "Elira," she whispered. And Elira answered. She wasn't real. Not at first. Just a name Mara gave the voice that spoke to her when the lights went out. A soft, breathy whisper, always behind her ear. "Don't sleep, Mara. Not tonight." The first few times she disobeyed. She was only 6. She didn't understand. She fell asleep anyway, and woke up screaming. Scratches on her legs, tiny handprints on the inside of her window, her bed sheets in a knot around her throat. Her mother thought she was having night terrors, took her to doctors, got her pills. Nothing worked, so she stopped sleeping. She would sit up in bed, her eyes wide and heavy, and Elira would keep her company. Elira would tell her secrets about the house, about the things that crawled through the walls after midnight, about the shadow that lived behind the mirror in her mother's room. about what really happened in the attic. The last girl didn't listen, Elira said. She fell asleep, and now she lives in the dark. Mara didn't ask what that meant. She didn't want to know. Over time, Elira began to appear to her, not just a voice anymore. First in dreams, then in reflections, then in the flesh. She was a girl Mara's age, pale skin, dark hair that never moved, eyes that were just wrong. Too large, too still. She wore a dress stained at the hem and never blinked. "Promise you'll never sleep again," she whispered. And Mara promised. By the time she was 7, her mother was frantic. The dark circles under Mara's eyes looked like bruises. She spoke less, ate little, and spent her nights drawing terrifying pictures. Elira's face, the attic door, things with too many teeth in the closet. A doctor recommended sleep therapy, medication, a clinic. Her mother refused. She'd already lost her husband to a drunk driver. She couldn't lose her daughter to something she didn't understand. One night, after a full week without sleep, Mara collapsed in the living room. The paramedics came. They pumped her full of sedatives, strapped her to a hospital bed, and monitored her brain activity. She didn't wake up for 3 days. When she did, she was screaming. "She's in here," she howled. "She's in me now." They called it psychosis. She called it Elira. After that, she was never the same. She stopped speaking entirely, stared off into corners like she was watching something no one else could see. Nurses reported cold spots in her room. Lights flickered when she passed by. Another child patient swore he saw a girl following Mara down the hallway, except there was no one behind her. Then kids started going missing. A 4-year-old from the East Wing, a girl with epilepsy from the 3rd floor, a boy who drew Elira's name over and over on his wall the night before he vanished. No evidence, no suspects, just the same thing every time. They disappeared in their sleep. When Mara turned 10, they transferred her to a different facility. Tighter security, round-the-clock surveillance. She didn't say goodbye. She didn't say anything. And then, one night, she slept. It was just for a moment, less than a minute, according to the footage. But it was enough. The video showed her lying still, then twitching, then rising slowly out of the bed, except her body didn't move like it should. It jerked, limbs stiff, like a marionette. She walked to the window and opened it. The camera glitched. When it came back, the bed was empty. The window was closed. She was gone. No prints, no trace, no Mara. But every nurse who worked that shift reported a dream that night. A little girl standing at the foot of their beds, eyes black, voice cold. If she sleeps, I wake up. Now people whisper about the house she once lived in, about the room that still smells of mildew and fear, about the attic which no one dares open. They say Elira still waits there, pale, still, humming lullabies backwards through the walls, waiting for the next little girl. And they say you should never speak her name, never close your eyes when you're alone in the dark, never trust the silence between breaths, because she watches, because she waits, and because Mara never truly woke up. If you have a true story, please contact me at the email which is given in the description. I hope you enjoyed the stories. Leave a comment. Thank you.